Hello everybody, I'm Owen Fleming. Today, I was lucky enough to be visited by Maria Arredondo, a Mexican immigrant currently living in the United States. I have a few questions for her regarding immigration in her life thus far, which Maria has agreed to answer. Without further ado, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in Guerrero, Mexico, and at 5 years old, my mother was abandoned. Her husband left her, like typical females everywhere. Well, my mother decided to come to America, and we crossed over the bridge from Mexico to Eagle Pass, Texas. And my mother took various jobs until she came to Michigan. Her brother called her and told her he had lost his wife and said, "Come and help me with my children and I'll help you with yours." And my uncle worked for Great Lakes Steel, had a good job. He also was an immigrant. And everyone that we knew, all of our relatives, everyone worked at one job or another. And in the summertime, when they would have long 13-week layoffs, we would work the fields in Monroe, Michigan.
Were these jobs hard?
Oh, they were very hard. But as a child, my job was to take care of my younger brothers, to keep them out of trouble and eating all the fruits and vegetables as they were picked. But my parents got $12 a basket for everything they picked. My mother was awesome. She would sometimes near 100 baskets a day. She did better than some of the men, even my father. But
all right. So, how has immigration impacted your life?
well, it impacted my life in terms of the language barrier. Of course, I was a child, so that doesn't become a big issue like it did with my parents. And I learned in school within kindergarten to first grade, I was fluent in English.
And you were 5 when you immigrated, right?
Yes.
Yes. How would your life be different if you wouldn't have immigrated?
Oh, it would be totally different. I just I thank my mother every day. Once I was an adult and found out what a life it would have been living in Mexico.
Especially with the conditions there now.
Yeah.
Tell us about your journey from Mexico to the United States.
Well, my brother was a year and a half older than myself, and my mother, myself, and my brother, we walked across the bridge, and I remember it being hot and dusty.
Dusty.
Yes, and we had a relative that lived in Texas, right across the border, so we lived with her for a while until my mother got a job, and we lived on a ranch in Texas for the Johnson family, and they had a little hut in the back, and we lived there. And my mother worked, cleaned house for them, cooked, and then she'd run over to the hut and check on us all the time until we came to Michigan.
What were the conditions like for you?
I was a child. They were hard on my mother.
Hard on your mother?
Very hard on my mother, being a single mom.
And were your brothers born yet?
No.
No.
My mother met my stepfather here in Michigan within a year after we got here. And I must have been 6 when she married my stepfather, which was a wonderful, wonderful man.
Yeah. All right, so did you feel scared at all?
No, I just was shy because I
yeah.
didn't know what people were saying outside of course, when we moved from Texas to Ecorse, we moved into a Mexican community.
Yeah.
So therefore it was difficult for us to acclimate when we stepped out of our realm of our living area. But when I went to school, everything changed. My mother enforced the fact that we learned English, and as broken as her English was, she wanted us to speak English to her. So.
Did you feel that your mom had any fear? Do you feel she was pretty calm about it?
Yes, there was constant fear, even with my stepfather, because they were, of course, illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
And there was always that fear. They totally were law-abiding because of the fear that they even the slightest little thing, jaywalking, they were afraid of. Normal, except for when I went to school, because I always felt different, because they always plucked me out and put me in English class. But
Because your primary language was Spanish?
yes, was Spanish.
And so was it hard to learn English, or did you pick it up quickly?
No. Surprisingly, it was fairly easy from what I can remember.
And you can still speak fluent Spanish to this day?
Seguro que
What
sí.
were your later years like?
Well, I went to high school and met Jerry Gafford, and right after high school we got married. And he was a hard worker, came from a hard-working family, and I worked at Oakwood Hospital for over 30 years, and he worked for Ford Motor Company for 38 years, so we were always able to take care of ourselves and our family without any assistance from the government.
Where did you guys move to?
We moved from Ecorse to Detroit, where I met my husband, and then we moved to Dearborn Heights, and now we're here in Livonia.
So now I'll ask the final question. Do you believe that Mexicans are hurting the U.S. economy?
Oh, absolutely not. Like all of my family, all of my friends, we have all held our own and had jobs and paid our own way. And even people that, I have California relatives that work the fields to this day and are hard-working people. And no, absolutely not. They carry their own weight, pay their own bills, and they pay taxes.
And there are many stereotypes out there, such as the ones that Mexicans are actually taking American jobs. How do you feel about that?
Well, for 100 years, Mexicans have been coming across the border and working the fields, jobs that nobody else would ever dream of doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For agreeing to do this interview, I really appreciate visiting and for you to answer these questions.
You're welcome.
And thank you all for watching.